Cindy Butts. Wendy Clark.
Here.
Heidi DeWeingart.
Here.
Kylie Gosselin emailed a minute ago and said she couldn't make it.
Okay.
Commissioner Mascara Bruno.
Here.
Lisa Tupper Bates.
Here.
Greg Ugalde.
Here.
You have a quorum in attendance for the meeting.
Okay, thank you. I guess per the agenda, our first action item is to review the memo. Well, I thought it had Hazim's name, but it looks like Carol's going to present. No, see, it says Hazim on the agenda, so I'm not sure who's presenting the multifamily program offering update.
Oh, that's me. It's Hazim.
Okay, thanks, Hazim. You're on.
Sure. So let me clarify, Heidi. What I'm presenting is just a report.
Okay.
So it's not an action item. And
Okay.
then they moved it up because I'm at the airport, so you may hear background noise because I'm supposed to catch the next flight out of Houston back to Connecticut.
Okay. Okay. No worries.
Okay.
If you can.
For sure. So good afternoon, everybody. So this is just an update that we would like to provide to Mortgage Committee. It was something that we discussed previously at the board retreat. So on Thursday, the authority will present a resolution to approve the adoption of a new indenture. In conjunction with the new indenture, the authority intends to increase its mission lending by introducing a slew of new multifamily products consisting of FHA, Fannie, and Freddie insured loans. To accomplish this, the authority will engage one or more FHA, Fannie, and Freddie approved lenders as its partners. Having and adding new products to its offering will allow CHFA to respond and to accommodate different financing structures and needs. In addition to increasing its mission lending, the rollout provides other major benefits to the authority. Number one is diversifying its credit risk. Currently, the authority makes unenhanced or uninsured multifamily loans. So this new offering will contribute to strengthening its balance sheet. The second is having the ability to access new investors. The authority relies mostly on the housing bond market to access capital for its multifamily program. Mortgage-backed securities have a larger and liquid market than bonds, and some investors prefer to invest in mortgage-backed securities than bonds. Therefore, the new collateral will give the authority an ability to choose best execution. The third one is, adding more than one option. Currently, the authority's guidelines and parameters are designed for financing new loans, such as new construction or substantial rehab, and to satisfy the bond framework, such as longer term or matching term and amortization. So having this product, having this type of requirements and underwriting parameters, they may not be conducive for certain types of projects or certain types of financing, such as preservation. Therefore, having another tool in your toolbox will address a variety of structuring and financing needs and scenario. The fourth one, in terms of major benefits, is leveraging resources. The authority desires, whenever possible, to manage all the steps relating to the financing for synergy. However, such an approach would require a huge amount of resources, such as infrastructure and human capital. By engaging a partner, it would allow for CHFA to roll out these new products much quicker and provide an ability for the authority to stretch its scarce resources. And finally, knowledge transfer. The authority is committed to innovation and process improvement. Working closely with a partner will allow it to absorb, educate, and assess alternative underwriting and financing methods that may be beneficial for its own program. Therefore, for the first 2 years, once we have engaged And then once we have released this plan, we would engage Jeffries and Berkadia Commercial Mortgage as the senior manager and lender. Thereafter, we would make the program available to other qualified partners. So that's essentially is the report, because the big thing is we are seeking the board to approve a new financing vehicle, which is the new indenture. But to go with that new indenture is we're trying to also come up with products that would marry the indenture and take advantage of that new vehicle. I'll be happy to answer any questions the committee may have.
Okay, so what's the role that Jeffries will be playing?
Jeffries will be acting as the manager to sell the bonds.
Okay,
So we still need the other side of the business to access capital.
okay. So any questions? So has the audit committee seen this and they are the ones who need to approve it since it's financing?
Well,
related?
so the like I was mentioning, what we are asking the board to approve is the indenture.
Mhm.
But when it comes to the program, is just trying to update mortgage committee because it impacts how we would conduct and engage future business.
Mhm.
And then on Thursday during finance and audit, I will present the indenture resolution, but then I will also provide the same report.
Okay,
Therefore, both sides are getting the same information in terms of what will be the corresponding vehicle that goes with the indenture.
got it. Okay. So chicken and egg question.
It is always, yeah. This one is one of those things.
Right, got it. Okay. Questions, comments? I don't know, it seems to me anything that helps diversify risk and adds flexibility is a good thing. Okay, I don't hear any questions. Thank you, Hazim.
Thank you so much. And then feel free, like if anyone has more questions, yeah, well, I'll be happy to address it on Thursday.
Okay, safe flight home.
Thank you.
Yeah, Ozzy.
Okay. Next on our agenda is Carol presenting the amended resolution for the financing of Antillian Manor.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
Hi. The resolution before you seeks authorization to approve an increase of $115,500 to the previously authorized tax-exempt construction loan and a reduction of $615,500 to the previously authorized tax-exempt permanent loan, as well as approve CMF proceeds of $500,000 to fund a construction to permanent loan to Antillian Estates LLC and an affiliate of Carabetta Inc. The CMF loan shall accrue interest of 5.6% during the 24-month construction term and accrue interest at 1% during the 40-year permanent term and be payable with 25% of available cash flow. The CMF loan will be secured by a subordinated second priority mortgage lien on the property. At the meeting in April of 2022, the CHFA Board of Directors adopted a resolution to approve tax-exempt bond proceeds to fund a construction loan in an amount of up to $2,100,000 and a permanent loan in an amount up to $9,500,000. As authorized, the aggregate principal of the permanent and construction loans cannot exceed $11,600,000. As proposed, the aggregate mortgage financing request remains the same. The CHFA permanent loan would be reduced to $8,884,500. The construction loan would total $2,215,500. And the CMF loan will total $500,000 for an aggregate financing amount of $11,600,000. The increase to the construction loan results from tuning the cost assumptions for the construction budget, primarily the interest carry. The reduction of the permanent loan is due to the underwriting standards that is being utilized by the syndicator for market vacancy. The syndicator standards require a 7% vacancy factor for New Haven as compared to the 2.5% vacancy factor underwritten by CHFA based on its market study. The result is we've come to a compromise of a 5% vacancy factor for the transaction, but the higher vacancy factor lowers the net operating income available to fund debt service, thus requiring reduction of the permanent loan amount from $9,500,000 to $884,500, which creates a gap. The proposed CMF loan will fill the gap as well as a small increase to the deferred developer fee. Approving this recommendation will allow CHFA to utilize proceeds of the 2020 CMF award and reduce CHFA's repayment risk for the TEB loan. The mortgagor is working diligently to provide acceptable closing due diligence items with the goal of proceeding to an initial closing on or around October 28th. All of the critical due diligence items have been submitted to CHFA and are in acceptable format. The development team is ready to commence construction. I'm happy to take any questions.
So this is the last component, obviously, if we're going to close on the 28th.
Yes,
It's just a rearrangement really of funds.
yes. The aggregate of loan amount, finance amount would remain the same.
It's the same, okay. All right, any other bottlenecks or issues that you see? Potential?
No, we're ready to close.
Okay. Any questions?
Just one, Heidi, just to confirm that last question, it's 884,500, right? Is the new amount?
Yes. Of the permanent loan, yes.
Okay, anybody else? You comfortable with the changes, Greg?
Yes. Yeah, I think this looks in order. This is good. I'll make a motion if that's in order. A motion to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
Second, Wendy.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Okay, Dawn?
Cindy Butts,
Yes.
Wendy Clark,
Yes.
Heidi DeWeingart,
Aye.
Commissioner Mascara Bruno,
Yes.
Lisa Tepper Bates,
Aye.
Greg Ugalde.
Aye.
The vote passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you.
you,
Okay,
Phil.
next up on our agenda is the amended resolution for financing of St. Mary's Place and to be presented by Michelle.
Good afternoon, everyone. St. Mary Place is the substantial renovation and conversion of St. Mary's Star of the Sea School into 20 affordable units in New London. It may sound familiar to some of the committee members because I did discuss this development with you in March, and at that time I had made a recommendation that we issue additional tax exempt bonds of $425,000 to fund some cost overruns at the time. And you and the full board of directors ultimately approved that recommendation. Just to give you a quick history, this was originally a 4% transaction that the board approved back in 2018. At that time, we provided a $3.8 million construction-only loan to the Connection Fund. The Connection Fund is a nonprofit. They specialize in supportive housing. Construction commenced in the spring of 2019. During the course of construction, the development team did experience a lot of unforeseen scope and cost increases. And then less than a year later, COVID hit and just exacerbated all their problems and caused some significant construction delays. At the time, to reduce the cost overruns, the connection fund did apply for HTCCs of $500,000, which they ultimately received. And they continue to fund change orders out of pocket to keep the project on moving. That's about the time that we came in and also contributed to the cost overruns and provided the extra $425,000 in construction funds. The project is now 100% complete and fully occupied. And the current issue really right now is just administrative, and it's simply one of timing because our CHFA construction loans are set to mature. And the main sources that are used to pay that off are the investor's capital contribution, as well as the state historic tax credit equity. And that eventually comes from Eversource's purchase of the historic credits. And as with any LIHTC transaction, the developer has to meet various benchmarks in order to receive those capital contributions. And they've done a great job and made a lot of progress in doing so. And in fact, since I authored this memo, I've been told by the investor that they have met all their benchmarks with the exception of the Part 5 from CHFA, which CHFA needs to approve. Now, the Part 5 is the actual tax credit vouchers. Once they receive those tax credit vouchers, the developer can then go on and use those vouchers to exchange the voucher with Eversource to exchange for the funds. So basically, this is really just a timing thing. And to err on the side of caution, I did request 6 months to the terms of the financing, as well as a waiver of the fees. But as where we are today, I really don't see us needing the 6 months. I would be confident to say that we should be paid off by the end of the year.
Okay, can you let us know if it doesn't pay off by the end of the year, or maybe
Sure.
in January, you could let us
Yeah.
know if there's any holdups?
Yep.
Okay, any questions? Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second,
Lisa. Thanks, Greg. Okay, Dawn?
Cindy Butts,
Yes.
Wendy Clark,
Yes.
Heidi DeWeingart,
Aye.
Commissioner Mascara Bruno,
Yes.
Lisa Tupper Bates,
Aye.
Greg Ugalde.
yes.
Vote passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you. Next on our agenda is the approval of the minutes for September 27th. I need to abstain because I wasn't there. Anybody have any comments or?
Motion to approve is submitted.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Okay.
Aye.
And I'm going to abstain.
I
Lisa, you probably have to
didn't
abstain.
intend to do this.
Okay.
Yeah, so Heidi, I would just submit for our attorney here. It's been my understanding from the local attorney in my town that the vote on minutes is simply to post them publicly. It is
Okay.
not a vote on the content of the minutes.
Okay.
That's been my understanding because we've had this discussion. So with regard to that, our legal team can certainly chime in, but that's the way I understand the vote. So I'm not commenting on the substance, but I vote in favor of posting the minutes and rely on other board members to comment on the substance.
Okay, perfect. That's great. Thank you. Okay, so minutes have been approved for posting. Next on our agenda, I believe, is the homeownership report. And I'm not sure who's presenting because I don't have the agenda in front of me.
It's Lisa Hensley.
Oh, Lisa, hi.
Hi, how are you? I do want to ask that Kayla Giordano present the first few slides, as she's done a lot of research on this and probably is better equipped to answer any questions. I believe
Okay.
she's on now.
Great. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kayla Giordano. I'm the Senior Program and Data Analyst in the Research, Marketing, and Outreach Department, and I'm going to be presenting the first few slides of this month's homeownership report. I did want to preface by saying that Lisa and I worked pretty hard the past month to bring you a revised version of this report that we think is going to be a little more informative and really help to better make comparisons year over year and assess how our programs are doing. Going forward, at the beginning of these reports, we're going to be offering a quick market update just to set the scene a little bit and provide some context for how everything that's happening outside of CHFA is impacting our own programs. So this is a quick snapshot of Connecticut's population and household growth. So as you can see in blue, Connecticut's population has been slowly declining in the past 10 years. However, what's interesting to note is a rapid increase in household formation. And household formation is simply when one person moves from one residence to another. So typically think a college student who might have been living at home, moving into their own apartment. That represents a household. Or someone older moving from their current home into assisted living, situations like that. And this increase in household formation has really been putting some increased pressure on both the rental and home ownership market because there are simply more people looking to get into a home. And if we can switch to the next slide, we'll see that there is really an inventory issue. So we've got rapidly increasing number of households with a rapidly decreasing amount of inventory on the market. So what you're looking at here is inventory going back to 2018 of single family or 1 to 4 unit houses in Connecticut's differing metro areas. And something I wanted to point out that you might notice on the graph is the very cyclical nature of inventory in the state, and that's related to the home buying market. So in spring, we see the increase and into the summer where people really want to buy homes, and then that decline as we enter into the winter months where people aren't looking to buy homes. But overall, you'll notice that since 2018, inventory in the state has really been on the decline, and particularly so beginning in the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. And we really have not seen a recovery at all to date in the inventory. As of the second quarter, the average days that a house spent on the market was just 8 days. And if we take a look at, what might solve this inventory issue, we might think that, new construction would be a solution. However, if we took a look at a graph of historic building permits in the state for residential properties, it looks very much like this graph where we've seen a pretty rapid decline in recent years. So increased households, no new building, really low inventories, all kind of coalesce to create this really hot housing market that we're seeing now with really high prices. Get the next slide. Shifting gears a little bit just to highlight what's been going on with interest rates. This takes a look at CHFA's interest rate historically, which is in blue, compared to the average Freddie Mac rate. And you'll notice that CHFA rates tend to be about 55 basis points or about 0.5% lower than the market rate. But you'll notice that as we got closer to now, that 2020, 2021, that spread has been shrinking. And that has to do with the really low interest rates bringing down that average Freddie Mac rate closer to where CHFA has been. And of course, we can't go down to 0, so you're not going to see that spread. Going into 2022, we've seen those rapidly increasing interest rates tied to the 10-year Treasury yield. And that's really brought both CHFA's and that average Freddie Mac rate soaring compared to our historic numbers. And if we take a look at the next slide, we will see how, if any way, that rising interest rates have impacted CHFA's reservations. And honestly, we really haven't seen a huge impact yet. The time to own down payment assistance program has really been driving reservations and sort of keeping that increasing interest rate from impacting our day-to-day operations. Whether or not that trend will continue, it's a little hard to tell. We are going into the slower winter months, so we would expect to see a decline in reservations regardless of interest rates. So, as we're getting more towards next spring, we'll sort of see if interest rates continue to be high, how that might impact CHFA's reservations. Before I turn it back over to Lisa, are there any questions on those first couple slides?
Very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. So moving on to mortgage activity, we decided to try to make this chart a little simpler to follow so that you could actually see the types of financing that we're doing. So you'll see that the first, you'll see last year versus green for this year. You'll see the actual sales going up in government, as well as the conventional less than or equal to AMI, as well as our greater than 80% AMI. So we kind of broke it out into those sections because that's really a little simpler to follow. And I think that we've seen a pretty good increase in the conventional financing. I think we're doing close to 50-50 at this point between government and conventional. And we move on to the next one, the lender activity. So our top 5 lenders from this year, oh, sorry, there we go. Why are we into delinquency?
I'm sorry, Lisa. Which slide would you like to be on?
Oh, I wanted to be on the first mortgage lender activity.
Okay, my apologies. Here it is.
Oh, that's okay. I just got myself confused. So we've listed our top 5 mortgage originators for CHFA in this list, and each one of them have exceeded their 2021 production by significant margins. And total loans from our top 5 lenders so far was 580. So that's 56%. They represent 56% of our overall lending volume. Our top 2 lenders, First World and Total Mortgage Services, make up about 38% of our year-to-date lending volume in dollars. And then the next slide, slide 9. We wanted to just give you an overview of where maybe First World Mortgage, because they are the top lender, while they are predominantly active in Hartford and New Haven counties, they're active across the state, and they are our largest lender. So even though they're not originating in all primary markets, but that's because those are the areas that our CHFA borrowers would not be able to afford. So you'll see that there's a lot less in those areas. Okay, and there we go. The DAP lending, it's been on the rise by 57% compared to last year. So we've done over 11 million in down payment assistance this year, which is a significant increase because normally when we see first mortgages, a lot of them in the previous years did not include the down payment assistance. And so we're really seeing a big increase in people utilizing the down payment assistance. Okay.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's because we have made it a little easier to access the down payment assistance with some of the changes that we made to the criteria. And so I think that more people are taking advantage of it now and they're able to qualify for it.
Okay, thank you.
And then the next slide should be time to own. Okay, so data from the program, it shows us that we are on the right path. The median income for the average CHFA first home buyer household is $79,836, but the median household income for a time to own borrower is $17,000 less at $62,400. So that means we're reaching even lower incomes and expanding access to homeownership opportunities to this group. And then the geographic distribution. So CHFA's lending is represented across the state with concentrations in Hartford and New Haven County. Again, it's mostly probably pricing and affordability. And race and ethnicity. So 42% of CHFA's lending has been to borrowers of color, which is a 5% increase over the previous year. We've also made great strides in collecting the information for the borrowers. So prior, a lot of times the lenders would just leave the information blank, and we've now made it a required field that when they reserve a loan, they provide this information so that we are able to share that information better. And then I think on this next slide with this migration, we're going to let Kayla present this one as well.
Great. Dawn, would it be all right with you if I shared my screen?
Sure.
Great. I want to show an interactive version of this map, which I think it might be a little more useful, although I think it doesn't look like I'm able to share it. I think it might be disabled. So if not, I can utilize the PowerPoint version. Oh, perfect. Okay, working now. Thanks, Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Okay, can everyone share my see my screen okay?
Mm-hmm.
Great. Okay. So this is the same map that was included in the package that was sent out, but this is sort of the background interactive version. And what's represented on this map is the total universe of CHFA's loans dating back to 2015. And the charge that we really undertook in creating this map was to see how are CHFA loans being used to enable migration around the state. What are the top destinations for a CHFA borrower? Where are people not moving? And so this map takes into account 3 different types of borrower. The first borrower is a resident who uses a CHFA loan to purchase a home in the town where they already live. And we know that a lot of people do this. They move from an apartment to a home in the community where they're already established. The second type of borrower is someone who uses a loan to move somewhere else. And so what this map looks at is borrowers who stayed in the same town and borrowers who moved elsewhere. And you'll see here, this legend goes from 0 to 100%. So at this 100% mark, so towns that are in red and along that red margin, what that represents is of all of the CHFA loans that were connected to that specific town, for example, Hartford, 48% of those loans enabled someone to move out of Hartford. And so when we look at the range in green, we're seeing towns where CHFA loans help someone to move to that town or to stay in that town. So basically what this map is telling us is in areas of red, there's a lot of outward migration. Current residents want to move away, and residents from other towns do not elect to move to those towns. So we see an overall outbound movement from red areas. Meanwhile, in the green areas, we see inbound movement. So those are the top destinations for someone utilizing a CHFA first mortgage product. So they might be moving from somewhere else, or it's a town where residents really love it and they want to stay there. So that's where they decide to purchase their first home. And there's a couple of trends that we can sort of take away from this map. The first being is that areas in green tend to be more affordable. And so it makes sense that a CHFA borrower in our income limits would utilize our loan products to purchase in those areas. Whereas the red areas on average tend to be more expensive areas. You'll notice, here in Madison on the shoreline, and then of course in Fairfield County, some of Litchfield County, those areas just aren't as accessible to a first-time home buyer. And so if we are originating a loan to someone whose current residence is, say, Washington, Connecticut, they are not likely to purchase in that town because it's simply not affordable. There are a couple exceptions here, and those are our urban cores in Hartford and New Haven. There may be affordable housing stock in these areas. However, they aren't considered to be desirable destinations. And so we don't see very much movement into those areas. And we do tend to see when people want to purchase their first home, they want to move out of those areas. And it's interesting to note that typically around these urban cores, we actually see little slices of green. So people move out of New Haven. They want to remain close to their community, so they purchase in more affordable or considered more desirable areas such as East Haven or Branford. We see the same thing going on in Hartford. We see these surrounding green areas, Manchester, East Hartford, South Windsor, those destinations that have the affordability and the more suburban location that might be desired by a first-time home buyer. So I'll stop sharing my screen, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So this is really fascinating, but the question is, what do we do with this information? Do we want to encourage red areas, or do we want to encourage more green areas? I mean, what can we do with this knowledge?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of things that we can sort of take away. The first being that sometimes the availability of our programs to reach certain demographics is really tied to the availability of affordable housing stock. So in certain ways, it's difficult for us as an agency to affect that, particularly in the home ownership single family market, just simply because the affordable stock does not exist. So it kind of allows us to see, all right, maybe there are areas, for example, in the New Haven, the Hartford area, where we might be able to encourage home ownership by bolstering our products or working with those communities to emphasize that it is a good place to live or the advantages of living in an urban area. But in those tighter markets where we're priced out, that's really, I guess, a matter of our availability to offer a product to areas where the stock is simply not there. Yeah, Lisa?
Yeah, hi. Thank you very much for that. And it was very interesting, but it also, I think, is really sad, because the picture that paints is that there are these large chunks of the state, and we're all familiar with this, but there just isn't anything affordable. And so people may have a job there and they are moving further away than perhaps they were renting because they do want to buy. And what's unfortunate about that, as I'm sure many of you know, is that statistically, even though it's a lower purchase price, they are still going to suffer economically because of the cost of transportation. So in my mind, it really underscores, what, again, we already know to be true, that there's a lot of work to do to add affordable stock in parts of the state where it just isn't there. The question that I'd love, Nandini, to hear your thoughts on is whether, with regard to starter homes, there's more that we could do as CHFA to encourage a stock of starter homes for purchase, which may mean encouraging multifamily purchase, not standalone, for example. But I don't know. That's usually not what we have focused on. And I don't know what your thoughts are about that, but would love to hear.
We've been looking at supply side solutions for the problems you just described. The issue really becomes a funding one, because the cost of constructing, there aren't a lot of builders and developers who are building starter homes, right? So we can look at this problem and we can try to we can come up with solutions that address that, but we've got to find a way to pay for it. We've got to find a way to incentivize starter homes. And we've got to find a way to preserve the homes we have, because honestly, there is stock, affordable stock, perhaps not in the high cost areas, but there's affordable stock in cities that could be preserved, and they're multifamily, in some cases, small multifamily. So we are looking at all of those solutions, but I would work with SALA and the Department of Housing and figure out a way that we can work together to come up with a solution that perhaps involves state funds to solve some of the supply side problems, because it will require a significant investment of resources.
Greg, I saw your hand.
Thank you. So you know, just to that point first, and I was just going to say something else, but Lisa, you know, we're going in, we had a year of 20% material increase, another year, 15 year over year. Now, you know, put aside even the labor increase in costs, just the new code cycle being introduced is going to add. Those are the initial, as the code's going to be brought out and we start being able to analyze it. You know, it does a lot of good as far as the environment and some different things, but those are the balances. So now we look at how do we cover the costs. And what I wanted to say about this, Kayla, that's very interesting is a conversation that comes up often is, oh, look, but we have CHFA resources already allocated in this area. And it seems like we just keep going to familiar areas. Well, there's a reason for that. You know, this is what we're talking about now, is that there's some places that are just so far out of reach, but we always have to challenge ourselves to get to those places that we still might be able to get into, even if marginally to start, because the map is pretty scary when you look at that. You know, it's looking for a lot of, quote, repeat customers type of thing.
Are there any other questions on the map?
If I may, Greg, just to follow up on what you were saying, this gets back to something that we discussed at our retreat, which is how can CHFA play a helpful and creative role to introduce into what sadly often are very toxic local discussions that tend to kill new projects through misinformation and through driving a particular perspective. There is not sufficient force providing accurate information about the need for affordable housing, providing the facts about local demand for that type of housing in Connecticut. And you see this story play out over and over and over in our state, where affordable housing isn't getting built because it can't get through that local process, and the local process is poisoned by misinformation or lack of accurate information. So, you know, I'd love to know, Nandini, if we can return to that discussion about CHFA playing a role to be a counterweight to those misinformation campaigns. You know, my words, but that's what you see often in the state. And this is a real crisis for us now, and I'd suggest to everybody, we are seeing homelessness go up. This is going to be a very, very hard winter. And it's all related to that incredible lack of momentum on building the affordable housing that our state so desperately needs.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do think that there is a role for us to play, and I don't know that it's getting in the middle of local politics. I'll be very honest with you. I don't know that I'm going to lead this organization to get in the middle of, you know, town hall meetings with town residents who are, you know, up in arms about a particular development and are doing, you know, there are NIMBYers. What we've been focused on is a strategy that will enable us to be a resource, whether it's data, whether it's other types of resources, sharing information with towns that want to do the right thing. I mean, if we can start there, I'd like to see forward, movement in those areas. And there are plenty of towns that are trying to do the right thing. They want to bring affordable housing in their towns. They don't have much of that. But in order to get into these more difficult areas, it's going to take, you know, a much broader stakeholder approach than CHFA wading into the mix. So I'm open to having more conversations with you, Lisa, but this is where I stand today.
If I may just add one more thing to that, I think this report today is helpful, right? So it arms us with reinforcing what we try to say. For example, that look, this is what we see, and these are stats. This is a great interactive map that says, Yeah, we see what you mean. I mean, how can a firefighter or a first responder live here when they have an hour to get to where from where they live to where they have to work? Those types of conversations are something that municipalities definitely have to pay attention to. And like Lisa's point was that a lot of the misinformation, a lot of the difficulty is that we need sources that are credible. And certainly this report put together by CHFA is just super.
I give all the credit to Kayla.
Yeah, no,
Thank
it's
you,
really well
Lisa.
done. Very well done.
I also did just want to quickly point out that if this type of information is of interest, I would definitely encourage you to look at CHFA's blog, The Intersect. We do a quarterly housing market rundown. So every quarter we provide updates on the single family and multifamily markets. So please subscribe to that, and it'll be delivered directly to your inbox.
Great.
And I think the last thing we have is a testimonial, and I'm not sure that you want to hear it now, but I don't know if we can hear it now. Can we hear it now, Dawn? Okay. Let's see if we can press on that. There we go.
Are you hearing the music?
No.
Lisa, I'm not sure I can get the music to play through the Zoom right now. I apologize for that. What I will do is I'll put the link right in the chat. And then if you just want to copy that link, you can play it later. Or if you're looking through the board papers, you can click on the photo there and play it from there. I'll look into this going forward to figure out how to fix that for next time. My apologies.
Great.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Dawn. Thanks, Lisa. Are you finished with your presentation?
Yes, I'm finished. I'm reading chats. I apologize.
Okay, no problem. Okay, thank you. Very, very interesting. All right, next up on our agenda is the multifamily report.
Hi, Heidi. This is Wendy Moores. I'm going to be presenting for SEMA today. She wasn't available. So good afternoon, everyone. This month's report highlights Torrington Riverfront, which is a 60-unit new construction, 9% tax credit development that hosted a ribbon cutting earlier this month. The developer is Penrose, and financing was provided by a private bank and DOH, as well as the tax credit equity. The second page of the report includes the overview of the multifamily pipeline. It shows how many applications are under review and those working towards an initial and a final closing. Of the 104 total developments in the pipeline, the majority are 4% tax credits, with 35 of those in the final closing stage. So that means they're under construction or they have completed construction and they're working till final closing. On the third page, we've highlighted the conferences and events that have been attended by multifamily staff. A couple of note, staff presented at the Eversource Zero Energy Building Conference and discussed the QAP, CHFA strategic plan, and our sustainable design measures. And staff from multifamily recently attended a webinar that highlighted the updated average income test regulations. The IRS recently issued new guidance and regulations. Everybody was waiting for that. So Novogradac hosted a panel of experts who answered questions and offered best practices, but also warranted that there's still issues that need some further clarification. Just to note the status of the 9% tax credit round, preliminary applications are coming in through the development engagement process with DOH. Pre-application conferences are taking place as those are received. And CHFA also announced the availability of taxable bond financing to be used with the 9% tax credit round. The next page highlights closings that took place. New Kensington Square 2 in New Haven closed in September, and there were also a few final closings. And then you'll see the chart that we usually include that highlights the deals that will be coming to Mortgage Committee and Board in the upcoming months. They're all in various stages of review. And then the last page of the report provides a deeper dive into one of those developments. It's McConaughey Terrace, which is a 4% application. It's 92 total units, rehab of 66, and new construction of 26. The developer is the Glendower Group, and the property is located in New Haven. Does anyone have any questions on the report this month?
I don't hear any. Thank you, Wendy.
You're welcome.
Okay, I think that's the end of our agenda. Dawn, can you flash the agenda back up? Because okay, yeah, that's it. Anybody have any comments, questions? Okay, then that's a wrap. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thanks, Lisa. Second.
Second.
Thanks, Greg. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. See everybody on Thursday.
Thank
Thank you
you.
all.
Thank you.